Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AI mini-series with Elixirr Digital. My name is Daniel Cook. I'm one of the senior PPC specialists here at Elixirr Digital, and we're here to talk about paid media with AI, which has obviously been a huge topic over the last year. It's like a huge change compared to nearly anything else I've experienced in the industry in the last 5 years. You'll hear everyone say that, but ultimately, what we really want to do with this session is to try and provide, because it's such a confusing and broad topic, just a little bit of insight into just what's changing on a granular level and how, I guess, my day to day and my colleague Retika's day to day looks compared to how it might have done 5 years ago, and maybe just challenge any preconceptions over what a PPC or a paid social media specialist would do in 2025, 2026, and going forward. Well, Ritika, obviously, I'm passing over to you, I guess.
Yeah, so yeah, Retika here. I'm paid social and display specialist. And we'll be just going through how we use AI on a day-to-day basis from the social side of things, and how it's kind of changed the way we work.
Exactly. And I think something that's good about this is that with both of us, because we're so specialized in our individual roles, it means yeah, almost joking about having two for the price of one here when you started. And I hope that comes across where Ratika will be able to cover a bit of the awareness side, and I'll be able to cover a bit more of maybe the lead generation side, all kind of like rolling into one overall lead funnel. A lot of people talk about how the lead funnel is almost being remade in that sense. Hopefully, through this, we should cover both and show you that basically AI isn't simple as, just redrafting copy and letting kind of like chat do all of the work for you. It's never going to be that. And I think, if anything, I'd argue that's the least useful part of it. So hopefully, again, it shows you how this kind of goes throughout the funnel, how everything is brought together overall in a way that just hasn't happened up until really this point. It's kind of like from the start to the finish. And I think one of the things I wanted to address first, and Ratika, I know we talked about this before, is that AI isn't actually particularly new when it comes to what we do. It's been kind of like around in various things like bid strategy, and it's been around in like certain campaign types for ages. It's just never been quite this all encompassing. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's always been around, but no one's ever really called it AI. Um, and now all of our clients are asking more questions about AI, and so it's now really become
Do you remember when it was
yeah.
called machine learning, like for ages, and then like almost overnight it just became AI because that was the new hot button word? It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting to see that how everything that was kind of like a process that was just considered like a digital seamless machine algorithm in that sense is now being labeled as AI because it's the same technology, but ultimately it's in this kind of like pretty little bow now of it's all under AI because that's the thing that's obviously making money in that sense and allows you to kind of like really sort of show the impact of what these tools have had all along. But I think, as well as that, obviously say that that's always been around, but I think it's evolved a lot. And I think maybe where I want to start with this, Ratika, is just how different would you say compared to 5 years ago when like just a say Advantage might have been starting. So full context, Advantage Plus is a campaign type. How different is 2020 as a paid social media specialist compared to 2025?
Yeah, it's completely different. Like you said, audiences have changed a lot. So we are using more AI-driven audiences um, like Advantage Plus and predictive audiences on LinkedIn, where we kind of let AI find the right people that we want to target rather than us figuring it out. And most of the time, and it does work really well if you have a good seed audience as well for predictive audiences. Um, for From a creative perspective, using AI tools to draft multiple ad copy and hooks and headlines, so we're able to test a lot of variations quickly to see what resonates with those audiences. So that kind of takes away a lot of the manual work, but we do still verify things ourselves to make sure it's all accurate.
How often would you say you use these tools in messaging at the moment? Like, is
Um,
it all the time? Is it like just occasionally, or how often would you say you use it?
I use it every day. So, because yeah, I think without AI now, I would be a bit lost, funnily. But yeah, I use it on a day-to-day basis to help me with not just targeting and creatives, but with like my workflow as well.
Mm.
So it helps like summarize performance, draft reports, um, and helps to highlight kind of patterns to help us interpret how our campaigns are performing. So yeah, regularly.
Yeah, I think similar. Like when you talked about like it's almost difficult to remember what it was like before, right? Like where things have changed so much that like it's difficult to. So I remember in 2020 myself, I would have been setting keyword bids manually, and that's just not heard of these days. I think just to kind of give an idea to anyone listening of, I guess, the key things that it's allowing me to do that's different compared to when it was back in 2020 is that you're thinking maybe less tactically than you once did. So, whilst tactics are still important, what it really does is it allows you to zoom out a little bit more in the sense of I can really think a bit more strategically about how my campaigns will serve the wider marketing funnel and how it's going to hit overall KPIs, which I think it just makes us a better agency and it makes what agencies do more valuable in 2025. AI will kind of like take care of that initial kind of like it will take care of kind of like that execution side where you're not doing so much of the initial keyword definition at the start. You're being able to kind of like take a broader set of parameters, and that can include everything from, say, if you started a project using chat to kind of like build up an entire file architecture around or a strategic architecture around a client and have it iterate audience so much better than you used to be able to back in 2020. So if you start to say with just the keyword planner in 2020, in 2025 you're able to start with not only the keyword planner, but multiple campaign types that will serve different purposes, different audience signals, um, giving the algorithm chances to use rawer data and then having the algorithm work with you so much better to be able to fill in the gaps where perhaps say in 2023 when you lost first party data third party data you would be able to you are now able to fill that in a bit more with data modeling thanks to AI. So again, what you're able to do in a nutshell is just think so much more strategically about how you're going to meet overall business goals as opposed to just I want to bid for this set of keywords, I want to bid this much. It's taken care of. You don't press so many buttons. You actually create, again, if I can sum it up simply, you create the environment for success more as opposed to just pressing a few buttons and hoping that the conditions come to you, if that makes sense, because AI just gives you so many more data points. That was quite a long way of putting that, but I think I wanted to cover quite a bit of ground there. I think just in terms of like signals and intent and that sort of thing, like, have you ever found that like when you're doing that creative testing that you've kept your level of quality, or is that something that you do have to be a bit more human about?
Yeah, so we do definitely need to be a bit more human about of
Mm.
from the creative side of things
Mine's
because
the
AI
same, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, AI is great and it helps to give lots of variations of things. Um, but we do need to refine it. And most of the time, like if we have 10 variations, we'll most likely won't go with all 10. We'll possibly go with half, so just five. So we can't really take it for granted. So yeah, we really have to make sure we check all the creatives ourselves because AI is great with variations, but it can't judge things based off of what our audiences will like all the time.
So you never would fully hand this over to AI. It's one of those you'd always make sure that you were covering intent.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Never.
I think it's one of those people. I think there's always the thing that you get asked in terms of, are you like, when is the whole kind of like rumor of is AI replacing you? Are you fearful of that sort of thing? It's like, if I'm to be totally honest, I think that will never probably happen, or at least won't happen in its current state anytime soon. For the main reason that I think where AI works best, and often what I found is less in maybe the messaging side and more in the way it kind of fills in the gaps to be able to give you a much better ecosystem in terms of stronger data, which is the lifeblood of paid advertising. Um, but what you need for that is for a human to make sure that it covers that level of intent that a machine simply won't be able to fill in the gaps of. And I think that that's no more, there's nowhere where that's more true than in copy, because certainly when you work with clients like we do, they're often B2B, they're often quite specific and niche. You do need that element of human touch when it comes to AI to be able to really cut through. So, but what it does do very well is then it creates um, that amazing area where you're able to iterate things so much faster. Like again, I'm sure you've seen the same.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. I think the main upsides of having AI is, yeah, like you said, it's faster testing, so like less time on repetitive tasks, and we're able to think more strategically across the messaging and creatives that it does produce, to make sure it's aligned with our objectives of the campaigns that we're
Yeah.
producing.
And I feel like we share more than we ever have done. Like, I feel like because of being able to have these projects via AI and upload files to something like chat, it means that you and I can share messaging, creatives that much more and iterate that much faster. It means that we're more aligned than we've ever been. It means that you have a, funnel from start to finish where there isn't sort of that room where there might have used to have been to get mixed messaging or anything like that, or not quite follow on the same page because you've taken a different view. It means we're just so much more aligned as well. And I don't know whether you see much of this at the conversion stage. I know you do more awareness, but I don't know whether you see much the same when it comes to how your data is measured, how much better, say, you can analyze these leads and reporting from an insight perspective, where again, you put in a really complex report to AI and it just gives you some fantastic insights right away. Again, to dig deeper, you'll need to do it as a human, but it cuts down so much on just the simple things that you just go, oh, okay, didn't think of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it helps you think of ways that you definitely don't think of from the get-go. So it kind of like opens up a different thought process, that then you can take what they say, or you can also then look into it further yourself and do some further research, and then that does help, with our reporting and analysis, for our clients.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think as well that really good reporting, given how much of our success is based around algorithms performing as effectively as they can do, that reporting means that you're so much less likely to go down the wrong path because you've not got good data. And so much of this is a snowball effect anyway, where you plug back in, say, like you were talking earlier about seed audiences and that sort of thing. That data becomes better because you have better leads. It then is re-optimized into future campaigns where it all links up super nicely in a way that we're not sort of reinventing the wheel when it comes to AI, but it's just doing almost everything that much better than we're able to do, say, in 2020, which is what's so exciting about it. I think that this is going to become clearer as well when you look at, say, on Google, obviously ads very shortly in the UK are going to be coming to AI mode, probably starting right at the beginning of next year. It's already in the US, but it's one of those things where because data is going to be so much of your lifeblood when it comes to this, and how many more keywords are going to be long tail and not necessarily based around certain parameters, Google almost might look at going keywordless at a certain point. It's just going to become the way you can gain an advantage with AI that simply you wouldn't have been able to by sticking to old tactics. And again, it's probably a little bit different when it comes to some of those awareness campaigns in social, but I'd imagine that similar to that, data is your lifeblood, right? Ultimately, the better it is, the more you can do with it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So just on that as well, like, is there anything that you just simply would never hand over to AI?
Yeah, for me, the one thing that I definitely wouldn't hand over fully to AI is the creative judgment part. I think we touched on it earlier. So understanding what actually makes someone stop scrolling, I think that's what has to come from us.
Mm,
AI can help, generate lots of variations, but it's still our job to sense check everything that comes out of it, to make sure it's on brand, feels human, and just to make sure it resonates with our target audience specifically. What about you? What do you not hand
It's
over?
completely the same thing. I really like that personal touch to copy, and when you think of exactly what you said, where I think so much of AI is basically speed and pattern detection, which is wonderful for scaling. It's just not necessarily great at, as I said earlier, cutting through. And I think that you look at other options that you might have on Google, where there are so many options now to say run an AI Max, or simply have pretty much everything like handed over to say like a URL iterator, or like a, you look at VO's just released a new version in 3, like just thinking, oh, I can hand everything over to this now, I don't need to do anything. Well, it's going to lead to some fairly poor quality campaigns if you don't have the correct data architecture. And I think that, again, it's the differentiation of having an expert that runs an AI tool and having someone that just goes, I will plug everything into AI simply because it's this shiny new thing. It's just not going to work in the same way. And I think that's where hopefully people like us can make a difference. AI is a tool at the end of the day. It's what you make it. And I think that you want to start from a high quality place, and particularly when it comes to copy, that for me is probably more true than anything. So just to kind of wrap up, maybe, as we've been speaking for a little while, and I think that it would be really useful to try and give some takeaways for people. If you could give, say, like a marketing leader or someone who may sort of think they know a lot about paid social but are really curious about AI, what would you sort of tell them? Where would you get them to start when it came to looking into AI in their campaigns, or how they would make the most of AI when it comes to lead generation or awareness generation?
Yeah, I think the main thing I would lead them towards is getting a good testing plan sorted using AI. Test as many variations based off of your creative or copy as much as possible. So to really take advantage of AI in that sense, because that once you're testing, you're also learning what your audience is responding well to, and that gives you the best results. And then that you can refine your campaigns based off that. Yeah, so I think that's how I would. That's what I would recommend.
Amazing. And similar for me, basically, I think so much of what I see is kind of like preoccupation with AI when it comes to just kind of like using it for the messaging part. I feel like I'm probably, you know, banging the drum over and over again to the point where it's probably, oh, he he needs to move on kind of thing. But I'm like this in calls as well. But basically, just are you reviewing kind of like your full funnel, not just your individual campaigns and platform? Because I think that's where you get really strategic when it comes to being in paid media. And I think that you want to be asking the question of yourself and your paid media specialist, that sort of thing, of it kind of prevents short-termism in that sense, where you're able to kind of like continually build to something that's really, really kind of like sophisticated and gives you an advantage when it comes to using these tools above those that are just using it as in-campaign things. And then, based on that, are you using the best type of campaigns that will be suited for these new tools like AI mode, or um, based kind of like around more long tail keywords? How is your first party data working for you? Are you collecting as much of it as possible? I've seen on more than one occasion that I think that there's more that certain people like could be doing in that sense. And I think that ultimately the better quality data you collect, the better. Are your PPC and social teams working together a bit like we are today, kind of thing? Like, are they working together as best as they can? Are you measuring lead quality and not just volume? So I think that it's something that AI can help you do, where it can give you some easy insights into, all right, so which campaigns, you plug your campaigns into an AI tool, are generating me the most in terms of ROAS, as opposed to just the most leads. And again, it's all these sorts of things where you're just looking at those data gaps, looking at kind of like those areas where, if I'm not using an AI tool for this, is there anything I can go, right, so why don't I try this and see whether it would actually make my process not only more efficient but higher quality as well. So I think that's probably it from us. Well, I've enjoyed it.
Well, yeah,
Sorry,
it was
that
really
was
interesting.
properly that was properly partridge. keep that in if you want. Just in case you have any questions, my email is daniel.cook@elixir.com. I'm more than happy to. I love talking about this stuff, and I'm sure I bore everyone in the office. So please give me some additional company. Daniel.cook@elixir.com. I'm happy to chat about anything relating to paid media. Ritika, do you want to do yours as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, send if you have any questions on social, please send over an email to retika.majed@elixir.com.
Lovely. Hope everyone's found this useful, and hope you're all having fabulous days. See you next time.